What's up, everyone? Tera Roberts here with your DFS Bargains for Week 12. With Thursday games and a couple of teams on bye, we are working with a little bit less this week, so it is crucial to make the right calls. Some of the quarterbacks with the best matchups are guys we are literally terrified to rely on. Do we dare go with Matt Ryan against Jacksonville? Do we trust Tyrod Taylor against the Jets when he only threw for 107 yards and no passing touchdowns? No. I think that we need to go back to the well and double down on Cam Newton. Cam was at the top of my list last week for quarterbacks, and he did not disappoint. He completed 21 of 27 passes for 189 yards, with 2 touchdowns and 10 carries for 46 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. We don't need high volume when it is efficient and tied to work on the ground with goal line carries. I expect Cam to be a QB1 again this week against a Miami team that gave up a whopping 209 yards and 2 touchdowns to Joe Flacco. If Cam can match those numbers plus his work on the ground, we are talking a huge return for you at a very reasonable price. Moving on to running backs, the best target on the slate is definitely targeting running backs against the Chargers, and both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are very reasonably priced. And they are literally within $100 or $1 of each other depending on which site you're using. My gut tells me to lean towards Melvin Gordon. I don't think Javonte Williams is a bad play. It's just that Melvin Gordon has that touchdown upside, so we can hope that he finds the end zone for the 4th game in a row against the Chargers defense that is dead last in DVOA against the run. Miles Sanders is another option at running back. I would have never guessed coming into the season that Sanders' pricing would be so low that it would be at the value threshold, but he is. Depending on which site you're using, he is actually the same price or lower as Jeff Wilson Jr., a guy that has played 2 games and had a total of 78 yards on the ground in them. That's crazy. When you look at it that way, Miles Sanders is an absolute steal. Jordan Howard will likely miss the game, and Kenneth Gainwell has unfortunately fallen out of favor, so that leaves only Boston Scott to contend for carries. After such an excellent return in Week 11 with 16 carries for 94 yards, I would anticipate the absence of Howard only benefits Sanders and will yield big results in your lineups. We'll go with one more running back, and this is definitely the low-cost leader of the group. It's Ty Johnson. Michael Carter is out, and Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman will carry the workload for the Jets. I lean towards Ty Johnson over Tevin Coleman because he has that PPR upside, so that we can hope we can get some value out of him if he gets upwards of 5 targets. It's not ideal, but if you're looking for the lowest viable option on the slate, it's this guy right here against a Houston defense that struggles against the run. Moving on to wide receivers, there's a couple of options to go with. Robbie Anderson is on the rise. It's a slow rise, but it is a rise nonetheless. His salary is still very low priced and he faces Miami, so this could be a great combination. He's seen 12 targets combined over the past 12 games and caught 9 of them. The targets are down from his earlier usage in the year, but his receptions and efficiency are up. In Week 10, he caught a touchdown as well. And as we talked about earlier, Miami gave up a big game to Joe Flacco, so I expect that Carolina offense to really be clicking as a whole, with everyone benefiting. Another option is Laviska Shenault. I feel like I've said this 1,000 times, but I wanted so much more for Shenault. Really was hoping that this would be a breakout season for him, and he just hasn't been utilized properly. But with Jamal Agnew out, I am crossing my fantasy fingers that this is the time for Shenault to finally get the usage that he deserves. And against a flailing Atlanta defense, it is the perfect time for him to step up. Last week against a tough San Francisco defense, Shenault went 5 of 5 for 50 yards. It's certainly an improvement over the past 3 weeks, so perhaps a little preview of life without Jamal Agnew. Marvin Jones is a similar option with reasonable pricing, but Shenault is much cheaper and can provide a little more upside while saving you money so that you can pay up for those big guys. And at tight end, I am going with Evan Ingram. Wait, I know, Evan Ingram, hear me out. Philadelphia is woefully bad against tight ends. The worst, actually. We may have our qualms with Evan Ingram. The Giants may be terrible. And the coaching staff may be very confused, and I'm not 100% sure what to expect out of Freddie Kitchens as the new play caller, but I will rely on evidence that Evan Ingram will succeed against the Eagles and take the risk at his very reasonable pricing. And that wraps things up for this week's DFS Bargains. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to Fantasy Alarm and come back next week for another round of DFS Bargains.